celebrating 15 years of Young Turks.
Hello and welcome to Young Turks. We come to you today from the Myntra offices in Delhi. Now, Myntra is one of the e-commerce companies that's on its path to perhaps become the first profitable one. Let's talk to the man of the moment, Ananth Narayanan, CEO of Myntra Jabong. Ananth, we are only in February, but it already seems like we are already like chock-a-block into 2017. What's it been like the first month for you? I know the end of recent sale just got over. What was your performance there? And what do you have planned for the rest of the year?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me. Every month in e-commerce feels like a year, so that's a common phenomenon. Jan has been outstanding for us. We have our end of recent sale, as you mentioned. This was actually one of our better sales. We had 160% year-on-year growth. Apart from the numbers, despite demonetization, perhaps because of demonetization, because there was pent-up demand, and when we had a great sale come up, I think lots more people shopped. So what we did was VIP slotting. We basically got almost $10 million of sales even before the sale started, because we got many of our customers to come in with privileged access from 8:30 p.m. onwards. Okay. So it was very orderly. They could come in for a 30-minute slot. They had all the time in the world to shop. It increases loyalty. It's a much better consumer experience. So that was very innovative, I think, and so we were very happy about that.
Okay. So that was the first month.
Yep.
Now tell us about the year as a whole. I know that you said sometime last year that you were on path to hit the $1 billion mark at the end of this financial year. You also said that you might fall short. Are you going to fall short? Are you not going to fall short?
I think if I take a 10-year view, by the way, Myntra turns 10 this year. If I take a 10-year view, this has been our best year ever. We have grown in a market that's been relatively flat, maybe 30% type growth in the e-commerce scenario. We have grown almost 70% year on year. We're on track to getting to $1 billion. We might be a little bit short just given the demonetization piece, but very much on track. For me, the most important thing is doing this with two conditions. First, consumer experience continuing to go up. So our NPS has gone up by 20 points this year while we have grown. And second is doing it in a healthy manner, which is how do we get to profitability with scale.
You said sometime last year as well that Myntra will actually perhaps be one of the first few e-commerce players to turn profitable. On the path to profitability?
Absolutely. So I think now we have specific dates in mind. So JFM 2018 is when I think we'll become EBITDA profitable. So we're already unit economics profitable, which means for every product we ship, we make money on it, which I think is the first step towards overall profitability. That's been the case for almost the last year, right? And that's been consistently going up, and our scale is going up. How are we doing this? I think first the category itself has more margins. So if you sell mobile phones, it's much harder to make money. Apparel has more money. Second is our private label business is doing incredibly well. It used to be 17-18%, it's now 24% of sales, and that has a higher margin structure. Now that we own Jabong, between Myntra and Jabong, we've also consistently reduced discounting. May not feel that way to an average customer, but the average level of discounting has come down by 800 basis points.
Okay, what does this mean? Would you say as a benchmark of what is happening in the industry, it's a good percentage to have come down by?
Absolutely. I think discounts in the industry have gone up, where our discounts have come down and we have grown. And I think, so that brings me to the third, which is we've launched a whole bunch of exclusive brands, almost 50 brands that are exclusive. That's been the reason why we could have reduced discounts as well, right? And we reduced supply chain costs and made it more effective and efficient. So
we know a large amount of the burn or the money actually goes into offering these discounts. You know, they go out of your pocket, so to speak. So bringing it down by 800 percentage points, what does that mean, and what impact has that had?
Sure. So the overall EBITDA, by the way, has gone down. As in our losses have gone down by almost 40% year on year, right? Which I think is terrific. So our absolute EBITDA percentage has improved from the last financial year to this financial year, which I feel very good about. That's why I'm saying that if the trajectory continues, next year we'll get to profitability.
So the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was ad spends and marketing. Has that also incrementally gone down, or is that actually an area that you continue to spend on?
It's a great question. I think we are continuing to spend on it. The reason, by the way, is not so much for customer acquisition, but for strengthening the brand. So we spend marketing in two areas. One is we spend marketing on the Myntra brand itself. The other is we spend marketing on our private brands. The private brands, we haven't reduced the spending because I think we're building brands for the future. The overall Myntra spend, we've kept it a constant, but we're getting more returns out of that marketing spend as Myntra becomes better known. Over the long term, I actually believe that the way to get there is through technology.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, if you can make Myntra a daily habit, if you can really create engagement where the customer keeps coming back. The average Myntra customer comes 12 times a month to Myntra, right, which is enormously high. Okay. The average horizontal is 4 times.
Alright.
But we do that because we actually create engagement experience for the customer. They can post shots, they can write up comments about their friends' shots.
Since you brought up two of these engagement things, they sound very similar to what Flipkart was doing with Ping, which it has subsequently phased out, and also with images search. You know, both of these features that you just spoke of kind of resonate from there. So were these picked up from where Flipkart left it off? Were these technology innovations that came ground up from Myntra? Just trying to understand also how Myntra fits into the larger Flipkart umbrella, so to speak.
So firstly, by the way, these have nothing to do with Ping. Ping was a social chat feature, which was, by the way, just for customers to chat with each other. Our features, by the way, are very different. They've been developed for brands to talk to customers. If you look at overall Flipkart as a group, fashion and lifestyle is a very important category. Flipkart, by the way, and Flipkart soft lines really focuses on the mass segment, and they're the market leaders there and continuing to grow and scale that well. It's also a huge customer acquisition driver. Myntra and Jabong is the mass premium play. So it's the more, if you look at our ASPs are almost double. Right? If you look at customer engagement, it's very, very different. So it's a very different consumer segment that we're going after. And I actually feel from a long-term perspective, having a couple of brands really helps because you can target them very, very differently. So Myntra, Jabong is mass premium, Flipkart is mass, and overall we continue to dominate fashion, which is a very important category if you think about life.
Okay. So the Jabong acquisition happened about 6 months ago, little over that. What are the plans for Jabong as a brand? Are we going to see at some point of time it be subsumed within Myntra? Does it really make sense to be Myntra Jabong? I mean, why not just be Myntra? If you do say that the customer sets in both are pretty much that, you know, premium sort of customer and not really the mass customer.
The brands are very distinct from each other. One interesting fact, the customer overlap between Myntra and Jabong in the mass premium space is less than 30%.
Really?
Less than 30%.
Okay.
So the real thing to think about, by the way, is I don't think about brands cannibalizing each other. I think about using both those brands to actually grow the market. The real thing is, how do you get more offline customers online to buy fashion? Now, you asked me about differentiation. My sense, by the way, is there are 2, 3. One, Jabong actually serves more women than Myntra does.
Okay.
Second, I think it's stronger in the north. Third, it's represented as a bit more premium because of the international brands that it used to have. Right? We're going to continue to sharpen that differentiation. Maybe Jabong becomes more and more premium, Myntra continues to remain mass premium, and there's the men-women shift.
Since we are talking about innovations and we are talking about labels and brands, one of them is the Moda Rapido, right? And I remember when we met last year, you kind of told us that, you know, something like that was in the works, where you're actually going to use artificial intelligence to start tracking what the trends are and then go back and produce the clothes, you know, instead of it being the other way around. So tell us how Moda Rapido is doing, how has it come along, and where do you see it heading from here?
If you look at fashion in general, it's one of the more art-based views of the world, right, as opposed to science. So what Moda Rapido does is something very simple. We have an artificial intelligence algorithm that basically scans, by the way, a whole set of social media sites.
So not just within Myntra and Jabong?
No, it's not just within Myntra and Jabong. It looks at Flipkart, it looks at Amazon, it looks at social media sites. It actually crawls through, of course, and gets all the data from Myntra and Jabong. And basically for 2 categories now, jeans and t-shirts. It provides attribute recipes, right? What does that mean? It says, here's what a best-selling t-shirt should be. Half sleeves, colors, pocket, right? What kind of neck it should have, and it comes up with the recipe. Then we crowdsource the design from a set of designers.
These are in-house designers?
These are in-house designers, sometimes external as well. And then in 45 days, we have it up online on Myntra. By the way, this brand is now 5% of all our t-shirt sales and 5% of all our jeans sales. It's actually getting to, I mean, we'll cross north of 50 crores this year, right? And it's the most profitable brand with the fastest sell-through and the least discount. And there's no designer around it. It's actually a product manager managing the brand. I, by the way, think this has huge applications. We can do this with all our brand partners. We can use this intelligence to develop other brands. And so we're very excited about it. In a 10-year time frame, I believe this is how, by the way, now fashion is going to get made.
You spoke of, this sort of AI technology that you've developed, expanding into other areas as well. What could some of these areas?
So I spoke about making. By the way, buying also can be very influenced. What do we buy from our brands? Which SKUs from Nike will sell versus not. The same technology can be used, and we're starting to use it. So in fact, we have a competition going where we have traditional buyers and we have the tech-led buying, and we basically say which one actually predicts better. Right, and we started doing this with many of our brands, and they love it, right? Because actually it's now using data and not science to figure out data and not art in order to actually get to this, right? And that's been very exciting.
Just to complete this conversation around fashion, apparel and Myntra, another thing that we had spoken of was Omni-channel, right? And creating an offline presence. Just earlier in the interview you said that the focus is going to be on bringing offline to online. But what is the intention now as far as creating an offline presence is concerned?
So great question. One is our Roadster store, which is one of our private brand stores, is opening. So March first week, we'll have our first store. It's completely tech-enabled. Bangalore. Completely tech-enabled. So one of the cool things you're going to be able to do
is it going to look anything like the Amazon store in that video that went viral?
Yeah, I know. It's going to be better. It's going to be very cool because, by the way, you can shop and have it delivered home. You can do lots of things. But more importantly, by the way, there's lots of VR. So for example, if you have a Roadster brand video, you can be part of the brand video. You can actually walk the ramp and actually have it be displayed outside the store. There's going to be lots of engagement activities where you can personalize stuff, including the jeans, the denim. So it's going to be very different as a retail store. I'm very excited by it. The reason we're doing this, by the way, is not because we're going to go offline in a big way. That's not the intent. The intent is we want to learn how to do omni-channel in a way that adds value to customers. And I'm excited about it. I also think we're going to, I don't know if I've told you this, but we're launching Myntra Brand Accelerator, where we start working with smaller brands and help them grow and scale.
So when you say Brand Accelerator, what is it going to be? It's going to be giving them this sort of back-end technology platform. What is it going to be?
It's going to be technology. It's going to be design help. And the biggest is going to be distribution reach, right? Myntra reaches 19,000 pin codes. So instantly your brand's available everywhere. So what we'll do is partner up with these guys to say how can we actually take your brand and scale it so that it's win-win for both.
So on that note, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about the changes that we've seen in management at Myntra and at Flipkart. We're also going to put Ananth on the spot and ask him what he thinks of the capital dumping debate.
I do think free cash flows eventually are important. Where you get them from is immaterial, but I think businesses
Where's Flipkart going to get its free cash flow?
Myntra and Jabong could be one answer. I think we could be profitable, and that could be cash flow. Right?
That's an extremely bullish statement to make.
Look, it can happen, right?
Celebrating 15 years of Young Turks.